Alright guys, thanks for sticking around this recap if you are watching, but I am on day 3 for the recap. Day 3 is when me and Jive Turkey started, or Jive Turkey and I started hiking together. We did 22 miles from Trammell Trailhead to, dang it, I'm blanking on the name, but it was, Horn Mountain Fire Tower, which had a little, I mean, they called it a shelter at Bulls Gap, but it definitely wasn't a shelter. It was more of a pavilion. But we aimed to get there because rain was in the forecast, so we decided to see what that was about and try to stay out of any sort of rain or wind. Unfortunately, it was on top of a mountain, so not much there. But from the start, we started at Trammell Trailhead, slowly climbed up to Rebecca's mountain, I think. And we stayed on her ridge for quite a while. Awesome views, going up to Rebecca and then just on the ridge the whole time because we just had really cool ridgeline views, of course. Walked past the fire tower, a fire tower, obviously not open for us to go up, but really pretty views the whole time. I wish I had the footage because, oh my god, it was a really clear and like blue day, like perfect day for it. So we were on the ridge for a while, and then after we passed the fire tower, we met a 2013 AT thru hiker. I can't recall his name, but he was really cool. We told him about Gut Hook, or Far Out Now, which wasn't a thing back when he hiked it, but he was saying how it would have been super helpful for him and his wife, who she had to get off because I think she had an injury, but they were basically, or she was basically kind of slack packing him and providing him trail magic up the whole trail from the time she got off. But he was super interested in seeing the app, and he was just out there for like a little day hike, month-long trip in Alabama, because I think he was from Michigan or one of those northern states where it's obviously super cold right now, so they were getting out of that. Yeah, and we just kind of stayed on a really awesome ridgeline. We had lunch in a pretty cool grassy field, random grassy field, and we got to Bulls Gap. We were planning on camping at mile 16 or so, but from Bulls Gap to I think Adams Gap or so, it's pretty, maybe not Adams Gap, but there's a 17 or 11 mile stretch where there's no water, and if there's water, it's very little or seasonal, so not totally reliable. Likely it's January, so there is a little more water, but yeah, we camped, or we got to Bulls Gap and we filled up the water that the POC leaves there, which is super awesome and helpful for anyone going through that area. But we're like, you know, if there's actually a shelter on top of Horn Mountain, that would be super great. We could sleep in, kind of wait out the rain, which I can tell you we slept in, but the rain didn't really, our tents never really dried out, so we still packed up pretty wet. But yeah, we got to that point and we're like, okay, so I guess this is night hike. We night hike for 4 hours, but we had a really pretty sunset going up. I guess that would have been maybe Bull Mountain if Bull's Gap was right down below going northbound, but that was super pretty. The people who maintain the trail did a really good job on all. There was a tornado a couple years ago, and it just like, you could see all the damage. Like if I had the footage, I would show you, or like I wouldn't even be doing this right now, but you could definitely tell the damage from the tornado. It's just all the trees were just blown down. And so yeah, it was pretty easy walking because they had come through with tools and made the trail accessible. Yeah, and then so we walked past that point. Really good views, obviously. I think at that point we were also on another ridge between like Bull Mountain and Horn Mountain. So that was really cool, except it was dark at that point. But it was really nice because we saw an awesome full moon. It like was blowing up like fire on the right side of us. So I guess on west, no, east. And maybe it was west. No, it was east. Sorry. And yeah, it was really cool to see such an awesome full moon. It was like fiery orange, and then obviously, you know, it got not orange throughout the night, but pretty cool trail. It was pretty rocky up there, so we were going a little bit slow, and I think, like, I know for sure I was getting really tired. It was only like day 3 for me, and I had just come off from like the couch essentially for 2 months, so I was not used to anything over 16, 17 miles. But I did it. I was a little delusional by the end of it, but I did it. But yeah, it was decent setting up. The ground wasn't too hard. I was able to get my stakes in and set up my tent. We did see, sorry Dad if you ever watch this, but you probably won't. We did see a little baby. I don't know if it was a baby. It was a bobcat though, for sure. Like, I think I was in front of Jive Turkey. And I'm really glad that he stuck around, because I was like, you know, like, I know I'm slowing you down, so like, if you want to go, you can go, and just wait for me at the 50-mile marker point, because that's when you gotta like dip off and go up some like service road. But he stuck around, and I think we got to the top of, we like passed through another like clearing that they had for the power lines, and we climbed up some rocks, and we rode another ridge line, and I think I heard something off in the woods, and I was like, oh, that was a deer. And he was like, no, that was a bobcat. And so like, then we started making really loud noises, but it was pretty small. I kind of saw it, but I was like, oh, it must have been a baby deer or something, or like, I don't know. I wasn't thinking it was a bobcat, maybe because I didn't want to think that it was a bobcat. But yeah, I guess it was. And then he got in front, you know, he kind of led the way, was making noises and stuff, but I kept looking behind me. But I don't think it really wanted anything to do with us. It was pretty small. I was just really worried that if it was a baby, like, where is its mom? And there were a lot of rocks up there, so like, obviously it must be staying up there in the rocks, and there were like dens or whatever. So, but we didn't have an issue after that. It also was pretty rough at that point too, because I think I was pushing myself without enough calories in me, and I had eaten some at the bottom at Bull's Gap, but definitely wasn't feeling myself enough, and like, my stomach was just like in cramps, and it just like, it was pretty painful on, like, for me. But when we got to camp, unfortunately I had burned Velveeta for dinner, and my MSR stove just like sizzled the bottom of my food pot, and just like, and I just had burned Velveeta. Like, I think the issue there was that I had also cold soaked the noodles, so the noodles just kind of stuck to the bottom, and then when heat was applied, and I wasn't mixing it, they just kind of like, obviously just got burned. Titanium heats up pretty quick, so that kind of sucked. And then after that, like, I think I had just finished dinner, and it started to rain, so then we just kind of called it a night. At that point, it was like 11 o'clock, close to midnight. So, and then throughout the night, I slept through most of it. It rained pretty good, but I did hear like I think the first time I heard it, I was like, no, that's not it. And then I went back to sleep, and then I don't know how much time had passed, and I heard it again, but there are 2 like bobcats fighting like somewhere off in the distance, and yeah, that was interesting too. You could definitely like tell that they were like the cats fighting, but they weren't your typical house cats. They didn't sound like that. So that was interesting, and I think that pretty much sums it up for day 3, 22 miles. Really awesome trail. No complaints. Yeah, super beautiful. So there you have it, day 3. Thanks.